Good morning and welcome to Legends of Mile High. We are streaming on several platforms: Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and we're bringing in our Facebook groups. So now that we're live completely, welcome to Legends of Mile High. I am Thomas Hall. I am your host, and this show brings you history and current events. And today we have some current events, some disconcerting news in my mind about our edge group that we're going to be seeing on the field as Broncos fans and analysts. So, Sean Payton has definitely shown that he cares about winning. And that's a great thing when you are a football coach, but unfortunately can lead to some disconcerting decisions in my mind when it comes to morality or character. So I was one of the first people talking about Sean Payton's questionable background when it comes to character when they were looking at bringing in a new coach and his name came up, from Bountygate to jumping ship right as that ship was about to sink for the Saints, knowing full well that he had put the holes in the boat. So now we see him going out and bringing in Frank Clark as an edge rusher. Now, I guess he should not be concerned about domestic violence because the NFL doesn't care about domestic violence. They turn a blind eye to it every time it happens, unless there's strong video evidence to point to harsher punishments. But in my mind, it's unfortunate because there were other edge rushers out there that could have been brought in. And instead, they went after Frank Clark. And that to me is unfortunate. Any of the victories that the Broncos have, or comeback players like Russell Wilson playing much better, or Javonte Williams getting back on the field, it's going to be a little bit, that light's going to be a little bit dimmer in my mind because of the addition that they brought in as the edge rusher group. Now, will Frank Clark help the Broncos win? Absolutely. And again, that's the most important piece to the puzzle for Sean Payton. Now, that make I remember watching people on Twitter and giving the Chiefs hell for having Frank Clark on their team, Broncos fans. And those same fans are probably happy to get an edge rusher. Now, like I said, the Broncos needed an edge rusher. They needed it before Baron Browning had to have his knee scoped. They just had surgery on his knee, and there's question of whether or not he's going to be prepared for training camp. They estimate he'll be back. So even before that, they needed some experience to come in off the bench if Randy Gregory got hurt, which he normally does, or anybody else misses time. So the addition of an edge rusher was very, very important. But there were others out there that could have been brought in that didn't have the questionable character. So that's where I stand on this whole thing. And I'm sorry if I put a bit of a dim light on the additions to the Broncos this morning, but that's, I'm going to say what I feel, and I feel like more can be done about domestic violence, and the NFL doesn't have to be the crusader against domestic violence, but they don't have to glorify those who have been in trouble for that sort of act, and they do it all the time. I mean, Tyreek Hill is a great example. They plaster his highlights and face everywhere, and it's unfortunate that they go that route. But like I said, the name of the game is winning in the NFL. If you don't win, then it's bye-bye. So people make decisions that may not be great in the minds of some. So now that my rant is over, we can jump into some questions, some comments, greet some people in the chat this morning. Jeremy Sean, thanks for being here this morning. Saying, morning, Thomas. It'd sure be nice to see Frank Clark exact some payback on the Chiefs in a Broncos jersey. Reminds me of Neil Smith. Yeah, it was a great addition in bringing in Neil Smith back in 1997 for that first season. I think his second season, he kind of lost a step and wasn't quite as dominant. But in 1997, he had a very good season, and he really did help the Broncos in that first championship run. So, yeah, I mean, anything that can knock the Chiefs off is okay with me, right? They need to get that monkey off their back. They have got to do something about the Chiefs in their own division, and if they don't, they're going to be still on the outside looking into the playoffs. In my mind, they have to win at least one game against the Chiefs this season. Uh, Keith Brugman coming in. All right, Keith, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the support that you've given me over the last few months on this Legends of Mile High show. I appreciate it. He's saying, "Good morning, Thomas. You sound disappointed signing Clark. How would you feel on Kareem Hunt then?" Yeah, Kareem Hunt. I've been on record saying I don't want him around either. That's I don't want to be that moral crusader, but there are certain players that you don't have to have on your team. You can fill with others. I would not want Kareem Hunt on the team. I've said that before. It's there's only so much you can do to fly in the face of morality when it comes to football in my mind. So Sean Payton obviously doesn't care that much. So he's about winning, and Broncos fans are going to be happy because he's a good coach. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I don't want Kareem Hunt. And I was actually arguing with someone on Twitter a while ago, said if Tyreek Hill came to the Broncos, I would have a very, very hard time rooting for them. So that's my stance, and you can like it or leave it. I don't really care, but I hope you stick with me if you don't like my stance, just because I have other things to say than that. We got Dominique Martin coming in saying, "Hey, Thomas and my Broncos family, Mile High Huddle for life. I'm currently at work, just showing some love. Go Broncos." Thank you, Dominique. Appreciate you coming in early. I hope you get a chance to see the show after it's over on YouTube. And we got Dom coming in. He's saying, "Good morning, Thomas Scott and Broncos Country, Denver Broncos for life." Yeah, absolutely. Scott's here. You can get at him at on Twitter, Scout Kennedy on Twitter. You can talk to me on Twitter at Thomas Hall NFL. And again, like the show, subscribe to the channel so you can get all of those alerts when these come on, because I know this comes on early. So Dom's also coming in saying all the NFL cares about is smoking weed, and that's sad. Much more dangerous things, but that's there or there. Yeah, I know. There's the funniest thing is, it's not really funny, but the one thing that is an absolute no-no in the NFL, and people are still doing it, and that's gambling. It's like that has been proven that you cannot get away with gambling in the NFL, yet people are still doing it. I mean, you can get away with a lot of things being a star player in the NFL, in the NFL's mind, right? But it seems like they still haven't quite figured out the gambling thing, because we've got big news breaks coming out about it. And regardless of whether the NFL plasters, the fantasy football gambling or partners with, other gambling sports books and things like that, it's still a no-no. It doesn't matter what you think about it. So it's interesting. Roy Osborne coming. "Good morning, Thomas. What you think of the Frank Clark signing? And I don't foresee Dalvin Cook is going to the Broncos." Yeah, I mean, I just thanks for coming in, Roy. I just kind of gave my spiel on Frank Clark. Will he help the team win? Yes. Do I like the morality of that? No. I mean, in my mind, I guess is when I look at someone like Michael Vick, right, back in the day, he served his sentence. He spent time in prison. He came back and seemed like he changed. I just didn't see anything from Frank Clark that made me think he had any remorse and got a slap on the wrist. So he didn't really serve his time. At least Sean Payton served his time for Bountygate. He was suspended for a year. So, they come back from it. Hopefully they're better. But yeah, I just I don't see. Yeah, I just didn't like it. Now, Dalvin Cook, that rumor's been going around for a while, right? People think that they were clearing cap space for Dalvin Cook. He may come to the Broncos. I don't know. For me, it keeps looking like he's not coming to the Broncos, but he's got so many other options out there. They may sign him. They don't have a ton of cap space left, so it depends on the actual amount of money for Dalvin Cook that they got to throw out there. But he sounds like there's teams interested, like Miami and other spots. So I don't know. They've cleared a lot of the running back rooms, so that to bring in wide receivers. So signs are pointing to it. I think it would be an okay signing as far as the player. I mean, he's obviously hit that age where running backs start to decline. And at 26 is when that really starts to happen. I know people say it's 30, but really 26 is when they start to decline. But he would help the team from a player perspective. It just depends on whether they can afford him or not. So thanks for coming in this morning. Appreciate it. And Keith's coming back in saying, good morning, Thomas. You sound disappointed. Yeah, I already read that. I'm sorry. I saw that one. Thank you. I thought it was a different comment. Thomas, does the signing of Clark force another edge out of the door? If so, who? I don't. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to make room in that position group, right, Keith? I know that to me, in my mind, that signing an experienced edge was important for the Broncos to bring in because they have Randy Gregory and they have Baron Browning, who were penciled in as the starters, obviously, but neither one of them could stay on the field last year. So instead of going to that third tier player, and I'm not trying to say Cooper is a bad player or anything. He has played well. His story's great, but he wasn't that next step down coming off the bench that they really needed, and they really have some question marks past those starters. So they had to bring in that that experienced edge rusher. So that's what they did, right? It's going to force somebody off the roster, for sure. And where that comes from, I don't know. It's definitely going to come from the edge group. They're not going to be able to keep all those edge players. They might get something for one of their players, or they might just say, you know what, let the best man win, and the rest of you guys are going to get cut or hopefully put on the practice squad. But yeah, someone is going to be forced out of that edge group for sure. I hope it's not Christopher Allen. I feel like he's got something to bring to the table, but he has injury concerns as well. So I don't think it's anybody like Benito. I think they're going to keep him around, keep trying to develop him and get him going on that edge rusher group. So yeah, it's there, but you have to think about any of these moves that they make to bring in experienced guys are going to push somebody else. It could be somebody in the wide receiver group, or it could be somebody in the safety group. If they want to keep an extra edge, just in case, because they really like them. So it affects every position, not just the edge group. And you've seen it before, right? You've seen other groups get affected because they kept an extra player that they really liked. So I don't know yet. It will start to take shape, obviously, in training camp, and when injuries happen, that definitely changes the face of the team and who stays and who goes. But yeah, I'm still not real happy with it. Carol, thank you for coming in this morning, saying good morning, Broncos fam. Hope all are well. Well, we hope you are well too, Carol. So thank you for that. So Dom's coming back in saying, Thomas, do you believe the Broncos signed another big name talent before or after training camp? Yeah, it depends on the name, right? When you say big name talent, is that somebody was a big name that's towards the end of his career and he's not going to cost a lot of money? Yeah, perhaps. Or is it Dalvin Cook? Perhaps. I actually kind of like the makeup that they have this team now. The only position that shows concern to me is running back. Now, I used to be concerned a lot about the defensive line. They brought in an experienced guy for that rotation, so that helped me to kind of feel okay about that rotation. I thought that they had some needs for experience on the offensive line at both offensive tackle and a rotational piece in the middle, and they went out and addressed that. So I think really it is running back. And the reason I'm concerned is I still have a hard time believing that Javonte Williams can be back already, so that's the concern, but they seem like they're not concerned about it. So I kind of like the makeup of the team, but if someone gets cut in training camp, a big name, the Broncos are going to look at him for sure. And, they may end up trading someone from a wide receiver group like they've done before, or another group, maybe safety, for that matter. So there's some depth there. So you may see them go after him, but it would have to be it can't be a big name talent that's expensive, because they would have to really massage the cap to get there. All right, Juan coming in. Thank you for coming in this morning from Facebook. I really, really appreciate you being here this morning with a question saying, "Good morning, Thomas. What's the most exciting thing you were looking forward to from this year's team?" Well, winning is definitely number one. I'm really tired of the losing after having seen the Broncos be so good for so many years. One of the best winning percentages in sports for Pat Bolin's tenure. So that to me is what I'm excited the most about, to see the turnaround. But what I really want to see is that bounce back from Russell Wilson, because everybody in the media has piled on, painting his doom and how he's washed up, and to, shove it in the Seattle Seahawks fans' face, because they were some of the biggest voices. Someone who played for them, got them a Super Bowl, talking about how he's terrible and whatnot. So I'm excited for that, and because I predicted that he would have a bounce back season. I predicted some of his stats. I think he might miss a couple games, but from injury. But he's going to be. I think he's going to be at 4,000 yards this season, and it's going to be much better, more like the Russell Wilson of old. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, just to see him bounce back, only to kind of rub it in the faces of all these people that love to jump on the bandwagon of the Russell Wilson hate. So that's what I'm most excited about. So thank you for that, Juan. Lawrence coming in from Facebook with Facebook stars. Thank you for the support, man. I really appreciate it. And I love seeing you here. You always have some great questions, and I appreciate you getting up in the morning to come see this show. He says, "Thomas, buddy, how you doing? I believe Russ will get pushed out and Rivers effect will start happening in Denver." Well, yeah, I hope not. I really hope not, because that's one, I would be wrong and he would be bad this year. And I don't want to be wrong. I want to, hope that the analytics that I looked at will actually prove to be correct for the future. But if Russ just pretty much bites the dust, right, they're going to be stuck with salary cap, dead cap issues. They're going to be looking for a new quarterback, which is never easy. I mean, I know you can get lucky in the draft here and there, but if they're able to win 8 or 9 games and he's not very good, they're not in a position to make a move, because they've gotten rid of a lot of their draft picks. So it would be pretty rough for me to see Russ falter again and then be pushed out. It's bad for the Broncos. It's going to put them in a tougher position. But if he does, I mean, Sean Payton's not going to sit around hoping that he does turn it around, right? If it's 2 years in a row, then that starts to become a little bit of a trend going on, that he just can't come back and make that jump back to his former self. Keith, come back in. Thank you. Do you believe PFF's ranking of Russell Wilson at 20th is too low, too high, or just right? Well, I don't. PFF is they've done a great job doing what they do. Some of their stuff to me is head scratchers. I don't really, when it comes to analytics, for me, being an analyst, I like to take factual data and then make some interpretations of it. And PFF, they interpret the data, as they gather it. So there's a little bit of flaws in my mind for what PFF does. But when you look at Russell Wilson last year, yeah, I mean, you can't rank him any higher. You can't say he's a great quarterback after last year's performance. But if you look at his years before, he was a high ranking. You would rank him much higher. So if they come in at 20, that's fine. I think he's going to show that he's a better quarterback than 20th this year. But if they want to put him at that, that's fine. In fact, they could have, looking at last year, they could have ranked him even lower, because he played poorly last year. And there's no sugarcoating that. However, I think seeing the changes that are happening this year, changes in Russell Wilson, having Sean Payton as a better coach with a better scheme that fits his skills, you're gonna see a better Russell Wilson, even if he isn't the elite quarterback that he was of the past. So, yeah, I think it's okay. So, yeah, thanks for jumping in there, Scott, and saying PFF's data is subjective. It's not really analytics. It's true. I mean, I don't want to badmouth people trying to go out there and do their stuff, but they have analysts using their opinion on a play to gather data. So it's like a flawed, it could be a flawed survey. They're gathering data with a flawed survey. It happens all the time. So that's why I don't like to put a lot of weight in. And then all of their analytics then feed off of that. So there's a lot of room for error. Whereas if you're taking factual data, which are statistics, I know people bring up the Mark Twain quote all the time about how there's lies, or damn lies in statistics. But a stat in the NFL is factual data. A person carried the ball this many yards and was tackled by this person. That's fact. Video is factual data. It falls apart when you start to interpret that, and especially if you're doing it incorrectly. So we'll see what their analytics show, and they're fun. It's fun to look at grades and kind of get a feel for what a player can do against their peers, possibly. But yeah, it's one of those things where they've gotten really big, and grades are great, but whatever. I still feel I have a little doubt in my mind about some of their process. So, but anyway, so moving forward, I think the biggest concern for me now, right now, it has been is edge group is Baron Browning now uh, being a question mark, right? I know that they came out and said that uh, he's going to be ready for camp, but Mike Kliss also said that they're not sure. They don't know. They still have some doubt about when he will return. And to me, Baron Browning needs some more reps as a pass rusher. I know I liked what I saw last year, but he needs to be able to hold up and be durable, get some more reps, and get back into the swing of things. So, I mean, it could be that you see Randy Gregory and Frank Clark as the starting edge rushers, and Baron Browning coming off of the bench because he misses some time, and that's I would rather see the opposite. I'd rather see Frank Clark coming off of the bench with Baron Browning as the starter because he seems like he should be the future of this club. So that knee scope is, that's why I started the show that it was disconcerting. There's two disconcerting topics to talk about: Baron Browning's injury and Frank Clark's history. So uh, the Broncos, I hope, find somebody somebody that they brought in, a young guy recently that nobody knows about, Christopher Allen. There's a couple others that could jump up and become a really solid rotational player. So let's really hope that that comes to fruition. Jeremy Sean coming in with a Russell Wilson quote: "The 2022 Wilson philosophy was wrong all the way around. The scheme, his body composition, the injuries, the internal power structure, all that is history, and I expect a rebound from him." Yeah, that I keep saying that. You look at all these. There's no arguing that Russell Wilson was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. The way he had played, his stats compared to his peers, compared to historical adjusted for era stats, his championship, getting to 2 Super Bowls, and you look at other quarterbacks in history who have also had been on that path, and the ones that got injured, or and they couldn't return to their form, that's when I look at, okay, why, it wasn't the scheme, it wasn't the coach, it was the body wearing out. Russell Wilson's been injured, but not bad, right? He's had some nagging injuries, but nothing debilitating. It's not like an Achilles tear like Dan Marino, who had to wear a special shoe just to get back on the field. It's not debilitating knee injuries. It's not a terrible shoulder injury as at 35, 36 that, the quarterback dropped off. It had other things to do with it. And you hit the nail on the head. The scheme. was the big problem. The idea that he could be, just sit back and toss the ball. He wasn't that, that pure pocket passer, and it all of that coming together, really hurt Russell Wilson. And it didn't help that the offensive line was so injured they became turnstiles. I mean, he got hit and sacked more times in his career, so that all takes its toll. So the big question, though, is that all going to change? Russell Wilson, can he stay healthy and be relatively unscathed with the more healthy offensive line? And is Sean Payton going to come up with a scheme that fits his skills appropriately? And that's the big question. If all those are true, then you're going to see Wilson's big bounce back, and people starting to eat crow. So that's definitely in the works. We got Facebook user coming in saying, "Morning, Thomas." Well, good morning. I wish I knew what your name was so I could say hi to you, but by name. But thank you for coming in anyway. Appreciate it. And Keith's going to throw in another comment. Let's remember that Russell Wilson dealt with several injuries last year, labrum and concussion that we know of. Yeah, absolutely. He had nagging injuries. That didn't help either. But getting hit, getting sacked 54 times, I think it was uncanny. Thinking about getting tackled that many times as a quarterback in today's NFL, it's going to take the wear and tear on his body. But none of those, like I said, none of those injuries should be debilitating physically for him. They are injuries that you can recover from. It's not like Peyton Manning's neck finally got to him, right? It's those just nagging injuries that if he can keep from getting hit so many times, probably won't happen again this year. I mean, he might miss a couple games, but I think you're going to see Russell Wilson bounce back. So, Benjamin Flores, yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you jumped back in here. The Facebook user is Benjamin, so not sure why it doesn't show my name. He says it is interesting. I don't know much about Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook much at all. I kind of deleted it and only brought it back because I had to. So anyway, yeah, thanks for being here, Benjamin. Appreciate you coming in from Facebook. And then Keith I think I'm going to end with this quote, right? We've talked about it, all the stuff that I want to talk about, and you let me go on my little rant. So I just want to say, Keith Brugman coming in with Facebook Star saying, "This week, my Mile High legend is Thomas Hall. Thanks for bringing the content every week, even on the road." Yeah, thank you, Keith. I appreciate the kind words, and it is a little harder, traveling around, still in Patriots country, unfortunately. I mean, not unfortunately for visiting family and friends, but unfortunately being in enemy territory. But not being able to really spend the time to bring the Mile High legend, the research that goes into that. But once I get home, we're going to do that again, and so I'm going to bring a lot more history when I get back to my studio and have the time to do it. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, Keith. And I appreciate everybody that came in and supported the show and put the comments in. So I know it's early, but it's fun. So thank you so much. And I'm just going to say, go Broncos.